shouldn't be saying this.
He doesn't smoke weed.
I don't,
because that's just not true.
Right. So I said, wait, here's the paper. Here's the paper.
Right.
Then there were a couple other things. One is
Did he agree with his field of expertise?
He's works on animal models, but focuses on cannabis biology. And so he's very knowledgeable. And I don't think he's anti-cannabis at all. But he was checking me on some things that he felt that I
maybe
he's
he
from
needs better
Canada.
weed.
We had a great discussion. And one of the things that he said was the whole idea that, there's so much more THC in weed now that's leading to all these problems. Like the weed of today is not the weed of yesterday. He said when people inhale, they take it by vape or they smoke it or whatever. His words are that there's far fewer cases of people taking in more. They're able to reach that point that they want to be at without going too far. However, even though it's higher potency, when people take it by edible,
right,
there are cases where people get to genuine freak out and psychotic episodes because they're taking in far too much too quickly, because you can eat the edible quickly. You don't talk to vegans, talk to carnivores, talk to omnivores, talk to people who are pro-cannabis, anti, and worried about psychosis and not. Talk to people that are really pro-MDMA for the treatment of PTSD. Talk to people who are very reluctant.
Yeah.
I think only there can we get the overlap in the Venn diagram about what the agreements are and what the disagreements are and move forward. And this
especially long form, because then you get to understand how a person thinks about things, not just the subject at hand, but maybe other things.
But I can think of a number of key examples that are historical. The greatest neurobiologist of all time, supernatural levels of ability, was a guy named Ramon y Cajal, won the Nobel Prize in 1906. He was the one who first defined the synapse, et cetera. He carried an iron umbrella to work. He lifted weights. Oliver Sacks, one of the greatest neurologists and writers of our time, passed away in 2015, had a 600-pound squat. Okay.
Jesus.
Yeah, he had the state powerlifting record at one point. Just a beast of a guy. He was also a neurologist and wrote all these beautiful books about how the mind works. The man who mistook his wife for a hat. He was behind the movie Awakenings, et cetera, et cetera. Don Kennedy, former president of Stanford, ran into his late 70s, and then after that had a hip replacement and then was doing other stuff. So Richard Axel has a Nobel Prize from Columbia University, the first person to find ways to introduce novel genes to cells. Played racquetball. I don't know if he's still playing racquetball. I'll name one more. These are incredible people, like the guy who essentially defined the understanding of the visual system and neuroplasticity. My scientific great-grandfather